everybody, my name is Eric, and this is the Gelcast, and this is my review for the movie Doctor Strange. And I want you all to know that every movie review that I do, I will start out with a non-spoiler portion of the show. That way you can watch this video without worry that I'm going to ruin the movie for you if you've not seen the movie yet. And then I will let you know by putting up a spoiler alert, and I'll let you know ahead of time that I will get into more spoiler thoughts about the film. That way you can turn this video off, save it, come back to it later after you've seen the film, and you can come back to see what I had to say about it. So Doctor Strange is a 2016 American superhero film featuring the Marvel Comics character of the same name. Produced by Marvel Studios and distributed by Walt Disney, it is the 14th film of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The film is directed by Scott Derrickson, and it stars Benedict Cumberbatch, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Rachel McAdams, Benedict Wong, Benjamin Bratt, Scott Adkins, Mads Mikkelsen, and Tilda Swinton. In Doctor Strange, Surgeon Stephen Strange learns the mystical arts from the Ancient One after a career-ending car accident that takes away his hands that he uses to perform surgeries. I really enjoyed this film. I wouldn't consider it one of Marvel's absolute best films. I mean, they've done some movies that are a little bit better than this one. Captain America Civil War is probably one of the best films they've done, along with Winter Soldier and the original Avengers films. This film is an origin film, and it probably is more along the lines of, say, Thor or an Ant-Man, where it's very enjoyable, but it also has some parts in it that is a little on the slow side, and some of the comedy beats don't always hit like maybe a Guardians of the Galaxy would. So there are some flaws in this film, but overall it is a very well put together film. The story flows really well, and it sets up a lot of great potential for future sequels and eventual crossovers into other films with other characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The CGI and effects in this film are absolutely incredible. It's got a very Matrix feel to it, and also Inception, and very psychedelic, and it's very kaleidoscopic in its visuals when it comes to the other dimensions that Doctor Strange gets into with his mystical arts. And it's a big mind trip, really. It's like going into a movie on acid, although you don't have to worry about the drugs. So it's a very fun film. It's different. It's not your typical. It's very out there. It's about magic and craziness. It's a deeper side of the Marvel Comics world that we've not seen yet on film. My favorite parts of this film, I just really enjoyed the CGI and the effects, and the way that Marvel tells stories and interweaves them with other movies. This is really going to play, I think, a big role in the long-term planning of Marvel and the Infinity War storyline. Because let's be honest, with Thanos coming down, you're going to need all the power you can get, and someone who knows magic and the mystical ways, you're going to really need that to your advantage in order to take out a godlike being who can just destroy things with the snap of his fingers with that Infinity Gauntlet and all the Infinity Stones. All the actors are great in this film. Benedict Cumberbatch is perfect as Dr. Stephen Strange. He's got the look, he's got the attitude, and believe it or not, at the beginning of this film, he's a total jerk. He's got a lot of Tony Stark in him, as a matter of fact. He's very egotistical, he's very self-centered, and it's insane to think about the character development from the moment he has that car accident to where he becomes more of the sorcerer. And it's a very good story arc for this character, and it brings him full circle, and you really want to see where he goes in the future and the potential that he will reach after having this life-altering experience. I feel like if you enjoy the other Marvel films, you will absolutely enjoy this one. It may not be on par with like the best of the best of the best, but it is definitely very enjoyable. So if you don't like the Marvel films, you probably will not enjoy this film. It's not going to change your mind at this point. You know what Marvel's going to bring to the table. They always bring the goods when it comes to comic book lore. But if you're not into comic book films at all, you might as well just go ahead and skip it, because it is very it's different compared to all the comic movies that have come out before. This is delving into a realm, literally, of comics that we've not seen on film, and it's something for comic book fans, really. And I mean, I believe it will bring in new viewers as well if people give it a chance. But it's such an obscure character. It's kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy, that not a lot of people know a lot about Doctor Strange until maybe this movie will provide all that information for them, and hopefully they will create new fans as well. Okay, guys, I'm about ready to go into the spoiler section of this review. So if you've not seen the movie yet, please come back and watch this video after you've done that. That way I can get into all the details with you. And I'm about to do that right now. I'm going to put up the spoiler alert so you can come back and watch it starting now. Dormammu, I've come to bargain. Whoop, time loop. Dormammu, time loop. Dormammu, I've come to bargain. You will listen to me, Dormammu, or else. like I said earlier, some of these it's the pacing's a little slow in parts. There's especially when he's starting to find his way to Nepal to learn from the Ancient One. The pacing kind of drags a little bit, but then quickly picks up again after he starts to learn the the ways of the mystical arts, how he starts to train. Also, some of the comedy beats didn't really hit. There was a good comedy spot though with Wong the librarian, where they were talking about how Wong only goes by his first or like by his name Wong, and Strange is talking about whether or not he sounds like Eminem or Beyonce or that those were great lines, and things like that. And and then Wong says he don't know who Beyonce is, and then in the very next scene, he's sitting there reading a book in the library, and he's listening to Beyonce on his headphones. That was pretty funny. But other than that, there's not a whole lot of jokes in this film that really landed. I mean, there's a few here and there. Like I really liked how when Christine Palmer was working on Doctor Strange after one of the battles, and he'd gotten injured, where she couldn't understand why he was wearing all these mystical robes and things like that, and she's like, "Oh God, don't tell me you joined a cult." And he's like, "No, no, it's not a cult." And then he gets up to leave, and she's like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "I'm late for a cult meeting." That was kind of funny to me. In this film, we get the fifth Infinity Stone. The Time Stone is introduced, and it is inside the Eye of Agamotto that Doctor Strange is wearing around his neck. In the other films, we've already seen the Tesseract from the first Avengers film, and it is now in Asgard as we speak. The Mind Stone from Loki's staff is currently in the head of the Vision. Also, we've seen the Ether as well from Thor 2. It is currently being held by the Collector somewhere in the galaxy, as well as the Power Stone that we saw from Guardians. We also know that it is being held by the Nova Corps at this point. The only stone that we have not seen yet is the Soul Stone. That my guess is it'll probably be in Thor Ragnarok next year, and that'll be the last stone left before Thanos starts collecting them all like they're Pokemon, and then from there he'll place them all in his gauntlet and he'll start destroying worlds. In this film, the Ancient One does pass away. She gets killed by Caecilius, and it's an emotional scene when she gets back to the hospital with Dr. Stephen Strange, where her and Strange really have a heart-to-heart with each other in their astral form. And it's a visually beautiful scene that really delves into the depths of what it means to have purpose in life and not being able to escape time and death itself. Caecilius is an interesting villain, but at the same time, he's got the same issues that a bunch of the Marvel villains have, with the exception of Loki, obviously, where they just so far they aren't very menacing. They're there to cause issues, but they don't really have a whole lot of depth to them, and that's one of the flaws in the MCU as of late and from the very beginning. Actually, I'm hoping that when they bring in Thanos for the Infinity War, actually they'll get a little bit more menacing with it and make him a real viable threat to our heroes. But the films so far have just been about the heroes, and they've worked out pretty well for them that way. I just like to see them maybe kind of focus more on the other side of it. The ending is pretty cool. It's a very cool fight sequence that's happening in reverse, and all the fight sequences are going forward. So it's a very visually stunning scene in which it's really lots of CGI, but it's very visually pleasing. And I don't know who it was who designed this idea, but they've definitely had a great imagination. When Dormammu is finally brought to the screen, he's a sight to behold for sure. He's a giant head out in the middle of the dark dimension space, and it's very colorful. And the amount of power from him from the get-go is on display as he kills Doctor Strange over and over and over again, like he was in the Edge of Tomorrow or something. At the same time, Stephen Strange keeps living the same moment over and over again, like he's in Groundhog Day, in order to imprison Dormammu from hurting anyone else on Earth. At the end of this film, we have two post-credit sequences, actually, and in the first we see Thor meeting with Doctor Strange in the Sanctum in New York, and Thor wants Doctor Strange's help in locating his father Odin. So this scene is great, especially during with the expression on Thor's face when his beer mug is refilling itself. He seems perplexed, but at the same time very pleased, and it was pretty funny. But it's also heavily suggested in this scene that Stephen Strange will appear in the new Thor movie Ragnarok next November. The second scene shows Mordo leaving the sorcerer's ways after feeling like the sorcerers don't respect the laws of nature. So he seeks out a man who was healed earlier in the film, and then he takes the magic from him that healed him and helped him to walk again. This prompted him to say that the problem is that there are too many sorcerers in the world. So this in effect makes his heel turn complete, if to use a wrestling term. And as you know, if you've read any of the comics, you probably would have seen this coming. And you would know that Baron Mordo is actually an arch rival and enemy of Doctor Strange. But overall, this movie, like I said, is not one of the best Marvel films out there. It is, I would probably give it on a rating scale of 1 to 5, 5 being the best and 1 being the worst. I'm going to put this at a 3.5, and I really enjoyed this film. I do think there are places that maybe in the sequel they could go and make the film better, but they had to get the origin story out of the way because a lot of people don't know who Doctor Strange is. So there you have it. That's my review of Doctor Strange. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Keep in mind, probably later this week I'll be doing a review for Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. You can find that right here on the Gelcast. If you like this video, please rate and subscribe. Also comment and like. And you can always find me on Facebook and Twitter at Eric Gel. And until next time, God bless.